Let me tell you something about high school, about being the invisible kid, the kind folks don't notice till it's too late, or maybe they do notice, but only when it's convenient for a cheap laugh. You know what I mean? I never thought much about making an impression at Riverside High. Certainly not after being run out of my old school back in California. All I wanted was to keep my head down, finish senior year, and maybe find a quiet spot in the library nobody else cared about. But fate, or whatever you want to call it, had a different plan for me. See, my name's Marcus Yamamoto, and until I was 17, I was pretty sure my superpower was being overlooked. Turns out, sometimes that's not a blessing, but the perfect setup for something wild. So, let me back up a sec. Picture me, 5'6" on a good day, skinny as a fence post, glasses always sliding off my nose, hair like I combed it with a blender. New kid in Texas, sitting alone at lunch, trying to disappear into a dog-eared novel the kind with dragons and knights, 'cause fantasy felt a lot safer than reality. But you can't hide from guys like Derek Castellanos. Derek, that dude looked more like a failed college linebacker than a high school senior. Arms like logs, a face set to permanent "don't mess with me." His two sidekicks, Tommy and Jake, followed him everywhere, like hyenas circling a lion, waiting for leftovers. First weekend, Derek decided I was his project. He came over, slammed his hands on my table, and started in with that voice bullies have loud enough for half the cafeteria to hear. "Hey, you the new kid? Think you're too good to talk to us." The whole place got quiet, that cruel kind of silence where you just know they're waiting for something bad to happen. I just wanted to eat in peace, so I said, "I'm just trying to have my lunch," kept my voice low, hoping he'd get bored and move on. But that's not how it works, is it? Tommy and Jake jumped in, mocking my voice, making cracks about how I sound like a little girl. It stings, but I kept my face blank. I learned the hard way, never let them see you bleed. But what they didn't know, what nobody at Riverside High knew, was that I'd been training in kendo since I was 7. My dad, third-gen Japanese-American, made sure of that. 10 years swinging bamboo swords under Master T-shirt, not just learning to fight, but learning not to. That's the thing about martial arts. It's more about control than violence. Last school, things got out of hand, and I ended up hospitalizing 3 kids. That almost got me expelled. So Dad's only rule this time was no fighting. Blend in. Lay low. Let the world pass you by. But you ever notice how the world doesn't let you lay low when you need it the most? Derek and his crew never let up. Shoulder checks in the hallway, accidental elbows in gym class, books scattered, taunts that never ended. Teachers acted like they didn't see, or maybe they just didn't care. Other students? Some looked at me with pity, some laughed, most just looked away. Nobody wants to be next on the menu. Then came a Friday that changed everything. After school, I was headed to my locker when Derek and the hyenas cornered me by the trophy case, right under the gazes of all those forgotten champions. "Going somewhere, nerd?" Derek blocked my path, Tommy and Jake flanking me. They accused me of disrespect, of thinking I was better than them. I'd barely spoken a word to any of them. But that wasn't the point. Without warning, Derek slugged me in the gut, then Tommy pinned my arms, and Jake kicked me in the ribs. I couldn't breathe. My mind went blank. They wanted show, they wanted me on my knees, apologizing, groveling in front of everyone at lunch the next day. When I finally dragged myself home, Dad texted, "How was school?" I stared at the phone, lied, said, "Fine, just the usual." The truth would have broken him. That night, I looked at my kendo gear on the wall, the shurnai, the armor, all those years, all that discipline. Was I a coward for not using it? Or strong for holding back? Next day, lunch came with all the dread of a last meal. The cafeteria was packed. Derek sat in the middle, king of the idiots, waiting for the humiliation to start. I could feel hundreds of eyes on me, phones pointed, ready to capture my defeat for the internet. "Did you remember what we talked about yesterday?" Derek sneered, making sure everyone was watching. My voice shook, but I said, "I'm sorry." That wasn't enough. He wanted me to get on my knees, to call myself a loser for his entertainment. And as I started to kneel, something snapped. It wasn't bravery, more like 10 years of swallowing my anger all at once. I started to stand. Derek's hand shot out to shove me back down, And in that moment, I stopped caring about promises and consequences. I launched upward, catching him off guard, shoulder into his gut years of training, taking over, every lesson with Master T-shirt screaming in my bones. Derek stumbled, tried to swing, but I was already moving. Punch to his nose, the crunch was louder than I expected, blood everywhere. Tommy rushed in, but I swept his legs, dropped him like a sack of bricks. Jake hesitated, just a second too long. I caught him with an elbow to the temple. It was over in maybe 30 seconds. The cafeteria exploded, some kids screamed, others just watched, phones shaking in their hands. Derek got up, blood streaming, wild with rage. He charged, head down like some angry bull. But that's the oldest move in the book. I used his own momentum, hip threw him straight onto a table. The crash echoed through the room. Then he was down, gasping, not moving. Sirens blared in the distance. Somebody had called 911. Paramedics rushed in, principal right behind them, security everywhere. I ended up in handcuffs, still shaking, not sure if I was going to jail or the hospital. 3 days later, I sat in the principal's office with my parents. Derek was still in the hospital, concussion, broken nose, maybe worse. The school board was stone-faced, talking about zero tolerance for violence. I listened, then said, I know I'm getting suspended, but I want you to know, they bullied me for weeks. I only fought when I couldn't take it anymore. The principal admitted they'd found evidence, security footage, witness statements, proof Derek had made a career out of terrorizing other students. They still suspended me for 2 weeks, anger management, counseling mandatory. But Derek's injuries ended his football career, cost him his scholarship. Tommy and Jake avoided me like the plague. When I came back, everything was different. No more harassment. Some students nodded when they passed. Some just stared. It wasn't fear, exactly, more like respect or maybe a warning to others. Teachers looked at me sideways, careful now. Derek never returned. I heard he had to switch schools, needed therapy, couldn't play football anymore. Did I feel bad? Yeah, I did. Guilt stuck with me. I never meant to ruin someone's life, just wanted the pain to stop. Master T-shirt visited, sat with me under the Texas sunset, and said, violence should be the last resort, but sometimes you have no other choice. The important thing is to know when you've done enough. He reminded me that standing up might have saved other kids from years of torment. Still, it wasn't about being a hero. I never wanted that. I just wanted peace. But sometimes the price of peace is showing you can fight for it, even if that means becoming the storm you try to outrun. Even now, years later, scars faded but memories sharp as ever, I think about that day. I wonder what happened to Derek. Did he ever learn anything? Or did it just get meaner somewhere else? I don't know. But I do know this. Sometimes the quiet kid has the loudest breaking point, and when enough is enough, nobody sees it coming. So, tell me, was I right to fight back? Or did I just become what I hated most? I'd love to hear your take. Drop a comment. Let's talk about what justice really looks like when nobody else steps up.